Hello and welcome to another Nature Must Sees. This month I've got 4 species for you to look for, various shades of pinks and purples, which was just a happy coincidence and intentionally plan it like that. And they're all going to be close to home. A couple of these you'll be able to find in your garden, and the other 2 probably not far away from where you live. Little recap on May. It was so dry, wasn't it? The weather has been wonderful, but it means everything's flowered very early, and some insects, butterflies and moths, are flying weeks earlier than when they're meant to be. So it's been a bit all over the place, really. We could do with quite a bit of rain to kind of make up for it, but it'd be nice to have that in the evenings and nice sunny days, so everyone's happy then. But without further ado, shall we crack on? Starting with a plant. Japanese rose, Rosa rugosa, is definitely something you should seek out this month, and you're not going to have to go far to find it. It's a plant that's commonly planted along roadsides, council car parks, housing estates, and if you're by the coast, it often escapes into areas like sand dunes and can become a bit of a thug and a problematic species. In some cases, it's eradicated because, as you can suggest by its name, Japanese rose is not native, and it can be a bit of a thug. But it smells amazing. It is the most rose-scented rose of all the wild roses you get in the UK, and kind of makes up for the fact that it is non-native. But it just smells divine. It's also beloved by many, many bees. So whenever you find Japanese rose, it will always be a hive of activity with bumblebees and other insects pollinating it. And it's a relatively straightforward rose to identify. It's a very bushy plant, which is why it's planted in council car parks and housing estates. Keeps people out from where they shouldn't be going, etc. Lovely kind of glossy green leaves. Flowers that can be vivid pink, right the way through to reddy pink, reddy purple, to a much lighter pink, and in some cases even pure white. And sometimes you'll get multiple colours on the same plant as well. And it's one of the few roses that can produce flowers and hips at the same time. Often, especially with our native roses, they produce flowers, then later in the year they get the hips. Japanese rose, you can have flowers and hips at the same time. The hips are really fat, almost look like tomatoes when they're ripe. When they're unripe, they start green, then they will develop later in the year into those kind of orangey red tomato looking hips. Very spiky, like most roses are. Yeah, give it a whiff. Just make sure there's no bees in there before you do that. It's the most wonderfully scented of roses. It's a beautiful plant, bit of a thug. But yeah, this month, seek out Japanese rose. Now, if like me, you've been sitting out in the garden enjoying this lovely weather, then you might have come across the mint moth. And this is a delicate little tiny micro moth whose wingspan is probably 1.5 centimeters in size, so very, very small. And as its name suggests, it likes mint. So if you've got mint growing in the garden, you're likely to encounter this species. But it uses other plants as well. It can use plants like marjoram. It can use things like lemon balm as well. And it's a triangular little looking thing. You kind of almost think tiny little butterfly when you see it, but it is a micro moth. And its wings are kind of purpley with hints of goldy yellow spots. The hind wing black with the yellow stripes. And it is that family of moths. There are a number of them. If you're in your garden, it's highly likely to be mint moth. But if you're in dry grassland, other places, there's a couple of other species it could be. But generally the yellow on the wings have been more joined up rather than just dots in the mint moth. It is day flying and night flying, and although I put the moth trap out regularly, I have never had one in the moth trap at night. I only ever see this moth in our little small mid-terrace garden during the day, and it occurs on both the mint and the marjoram in the garden. It's just a delightful little species that if you weren't paying attention, you'd almost not notice it. But if you do grow herbs in the garden, especially mint and marjoram, just keep an eye out for it, because mint moth is an absolute gem at this time of year. June is is a great chance to see our next plant because it is absolutely abundant and in full flower. This is red valerian, and red valerian shows similar characteristics to Japanese rose in that it can have various shades of pinky red. It can be kind of traditionally a purpley red right the way through to an intense red. But at the other end of the spectrum, you also get pure white flowers, which can be slightly confusing because then you've got white red valerian, if that makes sense. It's not white valerian, it's still red valerian, just the white form, so then it becomes white red valerian. And it's a non-native species introduced about 1600s from the Mediterranean, and it's quickly colonised all of the UK, getting commoner in the north, but it's the commonest in the south. But it's roadside verges, disturbed ground, nooks and crannies in brickwork or rock faces. It doesn't like a lot of competition, so you don't find it in rich meadows. It doesn't do well against other plants, so it keeps to itself, and because of that, it's a little bit unobtrusive as a non-native plant. And it's good for some pollinating insects. Hummingbird hawk moths love this plant, and this is where I'd love to cut to a video of a hummingbird hawk moth pollinating the plant. I didn't see any while I was filming it. It's a little bit early. But June and July, that will be better for hummingbird hawk moths. If you see something that looks like a hummingbird round this plant, it's a hummingbird hawk moth. It's pretty straightforward to identify. There's nothing else that really looks like it, with this abundance of colourful flowers growing in kind of roadside verges, disturbed ground, and with flowers that are kind of, there's one petal at, if you did it as a clock face, at 12 o'clock, and then the other 3 petals are 5, 6, 7 o'clock. So you've got this weird kind of, they're 4 petaled, but they're not symmetrical, if that makes sense. Yeah, it's a wonderful plant, absolutely glorious when you get an abundance of it in June, kind of carpeting a whole area. It looks absolutely fantastic. So this month, make sure you see red valerian. Our last species is elephant hawk moth, possibly one of the most stunning moths we have. And elephant hawk moths are encountered commonly in urban areas, in gardens. So if you've got a moth trap, you're more than likely to encounter this species in June, along with other hawk moths like poplar, lime and eyed. But even if you haven't got a moth trap, the amount of posts I see on social media at this time of the year of people saying, I've seen this weird insect in the garden, does anyone know what it is? And it often turns out to be a hawk moth, often elephant hawk moth. And it's an easy one to identify, bright pink and olivaceous. There is a small elephant hawk moth, and it's a little bit smaller, and subtle differences between the colours, but elephant hawk moth is generally the commoner species, especially in urban areas. And when it occurs on plants like foxglove or rosebay willow herb, its larval food plant, then that pink and olivaceous really does make sense. It can hide very, very easily in amongst plants, which for a moth that size and that colour you'd think would be very, very obvious, but they can be very well camouflaged. So yeah, if you do have a moth trap, a humane moth trap I might add, in case you're wondering, if you're new to moths and you're not familiar with the term moth trap, it's a box with a light on it that attracts moths, they rest in it, and then in the morning you release them all. It's a way for us monitoring what species are about and in what number. It helps us monitor increases and declines of certain species. You're likely to find it. But if you've got a security light in your garden, keep an eye out on that, because often moths are attracted to those. And yeah, sometimes you'll find hawk moths around it, including the elephant hawk moth. So this month, keep an eye out for the big pink olivaceous moth that is the elephant hawk moth. There you have it, our 4 species for June. As always, if you see any, then let me know in the comment section down below, but don't feel like it just has to be these 4. If you see any interesting wildlife, I'd love to know about it. You can let me know in the comments, you can share it on social media, you can just drop me an email if you like. If you haven't already seen it, go check out our other video on Are Nature Apps Any Good? Which if you use any apps like Merlin or Abs Identify, Flora Incognita, I discuss the pros and cons of using these apps, and you can go check it out with some recommendations. But yeah, as always, I hope June will be wildlife filled for you, and I shall see you next month.